And we have arrived at the end of our Raimi trilogy of reviews. Spider-Man 3. If you don't know, this is part of my Spider-Man series of reviews where I'm reviewing every Spider-Man movie except No Way Home because I've covered that movie pretty extensively on this channel. I'm reviewing all the other Spider-Man movies and lead up to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. One every Sunday, and this one is no different. Spider-Man 3 is a movie that's gotten a lot of hate over the years, and I used to really disagree with a lot of the hate because I do agree with some of it. Like, of course, I always thought Topher Grace's Venom was horrible. He's just awful. I love Topher Grace, and that's the 70s show. I love Topher Grace. I think he's great. But I'm sorry. He is so bad in this movie. His character is unlikable, and he's made to be unlikable, and his Venom's awful. I always thought the twist of making Sandman the killer of Uncle Ben instead of just leaving it the way it was. Because, like, what context did that add to the story? It didn't even make sense. It was really stupid and was clearly never the plan. I don't know why they did that. Harry's amnesia plot didn't really work for me that much. But at the end of the day, I did really like a lot of this movie when I watched the trilogy first time a couple years ago. And I gotta say, I no longer feel that way. There are definitely things that I still appreciate about this movie. I really love the birth of Sandman sequence. I think actually Sandman is pretty good all around in this movie, for the most part. Again, I still think that twist with him being revealed to be Uncle Ben's killer is nonsense and really stupid, and there's no real reason for it to be a thing, and it's really dumb. But yeah, I thought that was, whatever. I didn't hate that enough to make me ruin Sandman's character. I think he's easily the worst out of all the characters that appear in No Way Home, though. His actor clearly did not give a shit, but in this movie, he's actually pretty good. It's actually kind of weird watching No Way Home and seeing him in that movie, and just the difference in performances. Thomas Hayden Church does a way better job. I think it's Thomas Hayden Church. I might be thinking of the wrong guy. Whatever. I think he's great. His performance is awesome in this movie, and yeah, I think that is good. The birth of Sandman sequence, while it's really dumb, that line where that guy's like, "There's been a change in the silicon mass. It's probably just a bird." Really, like that's really stupid, man. But that's a really stupid sequence. But other than that, like the actual scene and the animation and stuff, cool. The score to this movie is once again great. Cinematography, for the most part, is great. I think where this movie just falls apart for me is just this time watching it, I remembered sequences and moments in this movie, but I remember that of them happening at different moments. And it just made me realize how cluttered and just messy this movie is. Like I remember the Peter and Harry fight, but I thought I remember that happening at the very start of the movie. Like you get the intro and then that it just immediately starts with that. I thought I remembered a lot of sequences. Like I didn't remember this movie being as long as it was. It's just I noticed like how much of this movie was just all over the place. It was also just awkward because what they do is they introduce a plot point, come back to it like way later into the movie, and like so many things that happen up until that point. I'm like, oh, this is still a plot in this movie. Like it just was all over the place. It didn't really come together at all. It's just the worst Spider-Man movie in this trilogy. Not the worst Spider-Man movie, but definitely the worst in this trilogy because it's just like I can excuse things like Peter being a dork because like I know people like have a problem with the little dance and stuff. I'm like, but that's what he would think is cool. Peter's just really stupid dork in these movies. And so I get why that was a part of the movie. It was clearly made to be stupid, be a gag, right? But there's so much other things at a certain point where you're excusing everything and you just realize this whole movie's a mess. You can't excuse this whole movie. It's a freaking disaster of a movie. I love this movie in parts in certain sequences, but for the most part, this is the worst of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. And even though my opinions changed of this movie quite a bit, it doesn't mean that it honestly wouldn't have still been the worst. This was always going to be at the bottom of my list, to be honest. But yeah, Spider-Man 3 is a disaster, and I never just really realized that until really watching it this time and just seeing everything. I was just like, ugh.